Hi, this is Lisa with Coping with Yarn, and I'm going to do something new. I'm going to start a new series called the How to Crochet Series. And the first one in the making will be called Before You Get Started. So this is going to be everything you need to know before you learn how to crochet. First, I would pick a project. And make sure it says beginner, because otherwise it'll be really hard. So one of the first tutorials that I ever followed was Crystal with Bag-O-Day Crochet. She has over 1,200 tutorials, anything that you want to make that you can think of. That's who I recommend. Besides me in my later on videos. I'll try my best though. She's a pro. Okay. So choose a project, and usually in the tutorials on YouTube, they usually tell you what weight of yarn to use. So weight means the thickness of the yarn right here. And there's a number associated with it, and I'll go into that later. Then you will choose the size of crochet hook that is best to use with the weight of yarn. And I'll go with that. I'll talk about that later on as well. The next things that you will need, okay, I would say a must is little snippers. You know, little scissors, snippers, anything like that. That'll be used all the time. As well as a darning needle or a tapestry needle. And there are also plastic ones as well. And there are different sizes to use, depending on the weight of the yarn you use. So this right here is the very basics. And then there's a little extras or things that you would need depending on the project. So for instance, if you're making a wearable and you're following a tutorial, and the tutorial tells you how many inches something is, and that's how long you should have your project be, then you need a tape measure, or a measuring tape. It's backwards day. Then, if you are working in the round, you will most likely need a stitch marker. Or if you need to keep track of, like if it's a more advanced project and you're keeping track of if you're changing colors or anything like that, that's when it would be a good thing to use. So in the round, there are two ways that you can crochet. There's in the round, which literally means round. This is called an amigurumi, a little stuffed animal. Yes, is it? So that's, you use a stitch marker to keep track of the rounds as you go along. And but if you are, say, like crocheting a baby blanket or a washcloth or anything that's just in a straight line, that's called rows. And I usually don't use these for that unless there's unless you're marking a place, like in slippers. If you want to mark the place of where you go up at or whatever, then that's when you would use this. Okay. Then there's this, a row counter. This comes in handy to use. And if you don't have, I think it's about $6, I would say. If you don't have $6 or $7, if you don't have one of these, then I use a little notebook and a pen and keep track of my rows that way. Some stitches are really easy to count the rows in, and some get a little harder. So that's when you would want to keep track. Or like I'm a beginner knitter, very beginner knitter, and I have to take notes on my projects all the time, or my project that I've been working on forever. I still need to finish a beanie I started a year ago. Over a year ago. Okay, for knitting. Because in my opinion, it's a little harder. Let's see. You got your stitch markers. You get little fancy stitch markers too. So that's what these are. If you see something like this, you know, at Michael's or Joann's or wherever, it's a fancy stitch marker. Okay. There are even different sizes of stitch markers, as you can see, depending on the thickness of your yarn. And see, I took notes on this video to kind of refresh my memory of what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to talk about the different weights of yarn, and I'll give you examples and what the shapes of the yarn that they're in, what they're called. Okay, there are different weights, right? So 0 weight yarn is crochet thread. It's also called fingering lace weight, and this would be good for doilies and stuff like that. So it would be even thinner than this, but this is crochet thread. That's basically 0. Then there's 1. So it doesn't say the weight on here or the size, because you just read the label to tell. It just says Aunt Lydia's Puritan Heirloom Crochet. That's all it says. Nothing fancy on this one. Okay. You could tell a lot about what's going on with the labels here. Now this is size 1, and it will actually show a little 1 right there. It will say what kind of yarn it is. So this is actually a cotton yarn, which is good to make amigurumis with, as well as washcloths, and you can use it for wearables. Yeah. And so let's see. This is size 1, and I'll show you how thick it is. And it's kind of a thick 1, because I'm going to show you, it's on the bigger side of 1. I'm going to show you what size 2 looks like. Right here, if you look at the labels right here, it tells you what crochet hook they recommend to use, the size of the hook. So this says 2.5 to 3.5 millimeter. That's the size of the hook they recommend. So the crochet hook. Okay, so that's going to be a really skinny crochet hook, like this size. But okay, so with this, it depends on when you are crocheting, if you crochet really tight stitches, then you'll want a bigger hook because you crochet so tight. If you are a loose crocheter, like my daughter, she's 13 and she's a loose crocheter, she wants a smaller hook to use. And so for me, because when I crochet, they're tight stitches, I always use bigger crochet hooks. And so you don't have to go by what's on here. It's just usually what like a lot of people use, but you don't have to do that. Okay, so you see how this is oblong and this is oblong? That's called a skein or a skein of yarn. And that's what I was talking about, the shapes, because then there's round shapes like this, you know. Okay, so this is a 1. I'm going to show you what a 2 is on a cake of yarn. So when you see yarn that's in a circle like this, it's called a cake of yarn. Okay. So let me show you how thick that is. A 2. And this, and right on the label, it tells you what it's made out of. 55% acrylic and 45% cotton. Okay, so, you know, it's a wrap. And so it shows that you can make this size 2 into like a nice soft wrap. Let's see, right here it says it recommends a size 4 crochet hook or a G6, a 4mm crochet hook. See how it says size 2? Well, it's backwards there, but and then it will tell you. It even tells you what size of knitting needles too, as well. So size, oh, I gotta go back. Sorry. Size 1. This is called super fine baby sock yarn, fingering yarn. There's all different types of names for something like this. Okay, size 2, which is right here, the cake of yarn. This is called fine weight baby or sport. And let's see. I showed you how thick that was already. So the different kinds of yarn, since this is acrylic and cotton, acrylic is a safe yarn to get if you are, say, you're crocheting stuff for donations or for cancer patients, so you know there's no allergies or anything like that. Or if you know someone's allergic to wool, or alpaca or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different yarn that has animal fibers in it as well. And so to be on the safe side, if someone has allergies, you know, to animals, you might not want to give them wool. It just depends. And there's different ways that you can wash it. This one is machine wash cold, gentle cycle, dry flat. Do not bleach, do not iron, do not dry clean. Yeah, so go by the labels. It tells you everything that you need right here. Okay. Size 3 or weight 3. And this is a skein or a skein of yarn. This is a light, or it can be called a double knit or DK. Those are all the same names for weight 3. And right there, it shows the weight right on that little skein of yarn. And the size hook is G6 or 4mm. And this is made out of, this is the Lion brand, and it's True Boo. And it's made out of rayon, 100% rayon from bamboo. So that's pretty cool. See, it's just different. I mean, I didn't even know that there are so many things that yarn can be made out of. I mean, I've used hemp yarn. I've used all different kinds. Okay. So with the crochet needles, it's a size 4. Probably for me, I'd use a size 5. I always go one up. That's just me though. This has 241 yards. And what I was going to say is, okay, the crochet hooks, they have you'll see 2 sizes on there, on some of the hooks. 9mm equals the same as M13. So if you see a letter on the hooks, that's just the US size. I like to go by the millimeter just because it seems like that is on almost all crochet hooks, the millimeter size. And that's what, well, they list both. They list the US and millimeter. Okay, now for the next size. Oh, guess what? It's time for another cake yarn. So this is a cake yarn, and this is size 4. And you can see that there's a pretty big difference. See? A 3 and a 4. Maybe there's not that big of a difference, but kind of. Look at that. You can tell. Anyways, okay, weight 4. This is the most popular weight of yarn that most people use. I recommend starting out with a weight 4 yarn. And right here it says it's 100% acrylic. Okay, safe bet for allergies. Crochet hook. A 5.5 millimeter, which is actually this size. I would not. I would use a 6.5. And an I9, a US I9. So if you happen to have the letters on your crochet hook, like you want to see well, this one doesn't have a letter, but this is size 30. Oh, maybe it does have a letter. Oh, no, it just says made in Korea. Okay. Yeah, there are different sizes to use. Let's see. What other names are called? This is also called a medium yarn, the size 4. Aran or worsted. Those all mean size 4 weight yarn. 355 yards. That's a lot of yardage for this. And see right here, it even says a 4 and it says medium. So they call it medium. All right. Are you ready for the next size? It's not going to blow your mind because it's not. I mean, this is a small 5, I would say. I've seen bigger 5s. I would say this is more of a light. For sure, a light 5. Another name for 5 is bulky. And it even says right on there, bulky. And let's see, this is, they recommend a 6.5 millimeter. I would definitely do a 7 or 8 with that. And, oh, okay. Yeah, just bulky. That's all they call it. Now this yarn, oh, I should say what kind of, okay. What kind are you? It's 312 yards. This is gemstone. Ooh, see right here, for this blanket that it shows, apparently it takes the 3 balls, and it will tell you. And it recommends a 6 millimeter hook. And what is it made out of? I am looking. 100% acrylic. You're safe. Okay. Now here, this thing right here is a super bulky. Now this is a size 6. a weight 6, size 6, and it's Bernat. And they say 5 balls of this to make this blanket right here. A free pattern on the label. And I can teach you how to read a pattern too. Okay. Super bulky, weight 6, 78% polyester, and 22% acrylic. Okay, so this man means you're pretty safe with allergies, unless they're allergic to polyester. I'm allergic to looking at it. Just kidding. Okay, that is super bulky. And okay, what do they recommend? They recommend an 8mm, but you know what? I use my 9mm hook for this. I always go up 1 or 1.5 more. That is just the rule that applies for me personally. Okay, so after super bulky, there's a 7-weight jumbo, hot jambalaya. No, hot jumbo. And it's like that thick altogether. And it's pretty big. And that's where people use for like hand knitting. Not this one, but the jumbo sized one. And for that's where this would come in handy. You know, things like that, or hand knit yourself. Okay. Oh, I have one more thing to show you. Okay, so cake, skein or skein. I don't know what naturally comes out of my mouth at the moment. I cannot remember, because if I think about it too much, then it doesn't make sense. Let's see. Oh, here it is. I found it. This is called a hank of yarn. And this is made out of 60% Huacaya alpaca and 40% Surrey alpaca. So this is an animal, or animal hair, I should say. Okay, this they recommend a 4.5 to 5.5mm hook. Ooh, it's made in Peru. That's awesome. This was from Knit Crate a long time ago. 231 yards, and I think that's about it. Yeah. So this is a hank. And now you know animal yarn. And so you can see the hair. If it's fuzzy like that, it's most likely wool. Or an animal. Yep. Okay. That is all, my friends. You know what? I think, oh my gosh. Nope. I think I got it. I think I showed you, you'll need an oceans pouch for one of your materials to keep your crochet hook and your darning needle and your scissors and your stitch markers, and then my handy dandy crochet project bag. All right. Well, that is it. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys later. And if you get to follow me, you'll know that I am obsessed with this guy. So at the end of my videos, I always say, be good. So till next time. Bye, guys.